at America's airports, passengers ripped off by teams of fly-by-night thieves.
Who would think of a man in a three-piece business suit would be ripping off luggage?
They send in a decoy, catch you off guard, snatching your bags in seconds flat. We'll show you every trick in their book, where they lurk, their favorite targets. Arnold Diaz with amazing video of airport thieves in action and tips on how to outwit them. Your trip through the airport will never be the same. Travelers, beware. Plus, we dare you to understand what this woman has done, an act that outraged a community and devastated her family. She had it all: marriage, wealth, beautiful children, and she sacrificed it all for this man, a rapist and accused serial killer.
If Oscar Ray Bowen ever sees the light of day, he will kill again.
What would drive a wife and mother to leave her husband for a vicious murderer?
We get to hug and kiss and hold hands and snuggle. Do you think it's fair of you to put her through this?
Lynn Shure with the sensational story of a condemned man and the woman condemned for loving him. Rosalie's Choice. Those stories tonight, July 4th, 1997, after this brief message.
Report for everyone who flies, and that's going to be a lot of people during the summer months. When you reach the airport, be warned, not everyone around you is a fellow traveler. Skulking in the crowd are thieves, hustlers, con artists, waiting for an opportunity to snatch your bag or pick your pocket or scam you out of your money.
Once before we showed you their tricks, people you would never suspect, caught on videotape, roaming America's airports and easily ripping off passengers like you. Your best defense against these slick operators is to know how they work and what makes you a target. And that's where Arnold Diaz comes in with a warning well worth repeating.
The police are about to make life at the Los Angeles airport a bit safer.
Hands on your head. Bring him out here. Hands on your head.
They've come to arrest Willie Hurd, who's been convicted before of stealing suitcases at the airport. It appears Hurd has been at it again. The police find luggage, a briefcase, jewelry, and other valuables believed to have been stolen from at least 15 unsuspecting passengers, as well as a set of keys to fit any suitcase. But Willie Hurd is only one of hundreds of faces the airport police are on the lookout for. It's an ongoing battle nationwide, the cops against organized teams of professional thieves that travel from airport to airport, committing crimes against travelers.
You have this idea of a criminal that has a stocking cap pulled over their head and they walk around shifty-eyed. In reality, they dress up like you and I. They look like business or leisure travelers, and they blend in.
I would dress like as if though I was traveling, just come in on a flight.
This convicted felon says he made a good living stealing bags at the airport.
If I made less than $5,000 a week, it was a bad week for me.
You're about to see how these criminals operate, how easily they can steal your valuables right from under you, at curbside, or the ticket counter, in the airport restaurant, at the security checkpoint, by the telephones, behind the baggage carousel, and yes, even where you'd least expect it.
Hey, in a survey, 1 in 10 frequent travelers said they'd been the victim of airport crime. Airports are ideal places for criminals to operate. It's noisy and crowded, passengers are in unfamiliar surroundings, and often carrying lots of valuables. You're not thinking that perhaps you're being watched by professionals waiting for you to let your guard down.
When the criminal element's out here, they basically have the pick of the litter.
Los Angeles Police Sergeant Kevin Coffey lectures to major corporations on travel security. He showed us how passengers can become marks for the criminals from the moment they arrive at the airport.
Let's look right behind us, this woman. Is she a mark?
Yes.
Why?
You take a look, she's coming out of a taxi cab.
Right.
She's smartly dressed. She has her wallet out there. She's going to tip the guy. You can tell now how much money she might have inside her wallet. You know where she puts her wallet. Watch. Her wallet is going to go right into that bag right there. So now if I wanted to rip her off, I know exactly which bag has her wallet.
Right.
She'd be easy pickings for the skilled pickpockets working the airport, as would this guy with his airline ticket sticking out of his back pocket.
Hello, sir. You might want to put your airline tickets in your front pocket or something.
Thieves also work the curbside baggage check-in areas, where we saw skycaps leaving the bags completely unattended.
What's to stop me from just going right like this and walking with it?
This is exactly what could happen at all times. And nobody knows that you're doing this at all. You're walking away. No one's paying any attention to you because you look good, you fit. And who would think of a man in a three-piece business suit would be ripping off luggage?
It happens every day at airports around the country, he says, which is why you should make sure your bag gets put behind the counter or onto the conveyor belt. But the thieves also know many travelers keep their valuables in their carry-on bags.
What are you carrying with you?
I've got a laptop.
Inside your attaché?
I've got my wallet, my phone, my
Airline tickets?
airline ticket.
You're probably carrying on you right now anywhere between $2,000 and $5,000, and you don't even realize it.
So I'm a mark.
Of course you are.
But I feel secure because I'm carrying this, so I think there's no way they're going to make off with any of this stuff.
Well, you're secure for the time being. Wait till we get inside, and I'll show you sometimes how you can become victimized right in front of your eyes.
Inside, Coffee changes into street clothes, and with his partner, Sergeant Andrew Smith, demonstrates what are known as distraction thefts. First, they choose a mark. In this case, a man with an expensive-looking briefcase. Smith moves into position directly behind the unsuspecting victim. Sergeant Coffee, posing as a foreign tourist in need of help, distracts the mark.
Do you know where this? No, sorry.
The passenger panics as he turns to find his bag is gone. Look at it again. As Sergeant Coffee diverts the mark's attention, his partner reaches down, grabs the bag, and begins to move away. Coffee continues the distraction until the thief is out of sight. We step in to tell the victim what's happened. He never suspected that lost tourist was setting him up.
That's why I was trying to be helpful. I didn't understand what he was asking.
The criminals are counting on your good nature. Here, a woman is passing time in the airport restaurant waiting for her flight. Sergeant Smith takes a seat at the next table, his eye on the briefcase at her side. Now Coffee moves in to provide the distraction. His partner steals her bag right from under her, her attention diverted to this poor guy who tripped.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I'm fine. Thank you, ma'am. I'm sorry.
It was some time before she even realized the bag was gone, and we told her what happened.
It worked very well.
Yes.
Very well.
Sorry, no hard feelings. And what happened?
On to the ticket counter, where many passengers are too preoccupied to worry about their bags.
I have my ticket here. Going to New York.
Okay, you've just committed what we call a luggage felony, and you didn't even realize it. Think about it. You walked up to the ticket counter, and as you reached here, what was the first thing you did?
I grabbed my ticket, put my bags down.
Bingo. And as you're conducting this conversation here, somebody picks up this bag and walks away.
A savvy traveler, he says, will put their laptop or briefcase on the counter and stack their bags where they can keep an eye on.
Okay, everything in front of me where I can see it.
Right.
The slightest slip is all the criminals need. L.A. Airport Police Sergeant Vince Garcia says they work in teams of up to 5 or 6 people.
They come in, the more sophisticated ones, the professionals will use hand signals. They'll make a hit and they're gone.
Off to the next airport, criminals like Oscar Fernandez, recently arrested by Miami's airport police, wanted at the Dallas-Fort Worth airport for stealing a briefcase, and in Houston for luggage theft.
They do this for a living. This is what they wake up every day, and this is their vocation. There's even some schools in some certain countries that teach them how to commit these crimes. They're kind of covert schools that law enforcement doesn't know an awful lot about because, of course, they're not readily open to the public, and you don't get a degree from there.
Police call them the schools of the 10 bells because the students learn, among other things, to pick pockets like these without making a sound.
The latest caper of these organized airport thieves is their most brazen distraction theft yet. It's happening right here at the screening stations, where they're stealing laptop computers and other valuable carry-on items right in front of the airport security guards.
Walking up.
Here's how it's done. After you've put your bag onto the conveyor belt, But before you go through the metal detector, two guys cut in front of you.
Suspect 1, he walks through with no problem. Suspect 2, he gets delayed. He has a bunch of change, keys. Oh, sorry about that. Now, he delays you from going through. They're very apologetic. Sometimes it's a very attractive woman.
And now I'm waiting. I'm watching him.
You've got it. And now the first suspect, he's gone through and he's picked up your briefcase, laptop, carry-on bag, and turned right around and exited the airport. And you're...
By the time a passenger makes it through the screening station to retrieve his bags, it's too late. The luggage is long gone. These LA airport surveillance photos caught one distraction theft on camera. The woman in the white blouse is the mark. Next to her in the blue jacket is Claudio Gutierrez, a notorious distraction thief. As she puts her purse on the belt, Gutierrez's partner cuts in front of her and goes through the metal detector. Then Gutierrez deliberately triggers the alarm. As he holds up the line, his partner's on the other side, waiting for the mark's purse to come through. He grabs it and takes off. By the time the victim walks through, the bag is gone, as are the two thieves. Later, Gutierrez was caught and is now in prison. In Dallas, a more elaborate distraction theft was recorded on video. First, police say the alleged ringleader comes through and surveys the area, followed by one partner on the left who assumes a lookout post. Then comes the distraction on the upper right. One team member slips through the metal detector, while his accomplice blocks the line. Watch as the thief reaches for the empty suitcase he sent through and gets ready to grab a purse and drop it in. When the lookouts on the left signal the coast is clear, he makes his move and they disappear into the crowd. The entire process took just over a minute.
Well, so what do you do? I mean, everybody's sticking their luggage on. I'm going to stick mine on. What can I do?
First of all, the police say, make sure no one's in front of you. Then put your bag on the conveyor belt and don't take your eyes off it.
As you walk through here, you didn't bother to look back, and as you can see, he was right behind you and he pulled your machine right out. Or your purse.
And if you're delayed trying to get through the metal detector, stay focused on your bag as it exits the machine. You may be surrounded by security guards, but you're still vulnerable to theft.
The other side. The security station personnel here, they're here to make sure bombs and weapons don't get into the airport.
Not to watch my luggage.
Correct.
Andrew Wilson had no problem at the security station.
I have traveled every week for a period of 15 years, and it was the first time it had ever happened to me.
But like many travelers, he let his guard down when he got to the gate area, another favorite hunting ground of airport thieves.
Once you go through those security gates, somehow you feel that you're safe, but you really aren't.
Wilson made the mistake of leaving his bags unattended for a minute or two when he went to check in. He turned around and they were gone. Rob Hertz's bags were stolen when he left them to get an ice cream cone. Sean O'Riordan turned his back to make a phone call and never saw his luggage again. For business travelers, airport thefts can be devastating.
I had my computer, I had my itinerary, my schedule. I mean, everything is inside my computer, all my appointments, my business phone numbers, my personal phone numbers.
Wilson's lucky. The police later recovered his belongings when they went to arrest Kuk Cheng Gui, who may have been the hardest working airport thief in L.A.
How many victims would you say this guy hit up by himself?
Over 40.
Over 40.
Yeah.
At the LAPD property room, airport cops Joaquin Mendez and Robert Jacks showed me some of the 700 items Gui allegedly stole from passengers. And it's easy to see why travelers make such good targets. They found laptops, cameras, art objects, checkbooks, credit cards, traveler's checks, even designer clothing. All police say in Gui's hotel room, but he had slipped away and is still at large.
A guy like this can operate, get all this stuff and not get caught?
Oh, it's difficult because of the transient nature of these people. They come in and hit us 3 or 4 times in a day, then not come in for a week. They'll fly to San Francisco or Phoenix and do the same thing there.
How can you catch a baggage thief? The police at the Miami airport are deliberately setting out unattended luggage as bait. 2020's cameras were there to capture this sting operation designed to hook would-be thieves.
The police have set the trap, knowing that somewhere in the crowd a thief may be lurking. When we come back, you'll see if anyone takes the bait, but you haven't got the full picture at the airport yet. There are scams, hustles, rip-offs at every turn. Arnold Diaz exposes them all for your protection after this.
Video of bold and clever crooks ripping off airline passengers in places you would never expect. And there are other scams and pitfalls to watch out for at the nation's airports. We're going to show you those. But first, watch how police are fighting back, trying to get to these crooks before they get to you. As Arnold Diaz continues, an elaborate sting is being prepared. The plan is to draw potential thieves out of the crowd and into the open, where plainclothes officers are watching.
At Miami International Airport, baggage thieves have been working the phone bank.
Basically, what we want to do is to duplicate the same scenario that occurs at every airport.
Undercover detectives from the Metro-Dade Police have decided to set a trap. They prepare the bait, a bag with 2 cameras inside, valuable enough to make stealing it a felony. They attach to it a clearly marked name tag with a phone number that rings at the police station in case an honest citizen wants to return it. Today's location, Concourse D. A female officer moves into position.
It's going to, likely she's making a phone call. It's going to hang up the phone, and it's going to leave the bag.
The bait now in place. The police watch and wait. It takes about 45 minutes before they get their first nibble. The woman standing to the left on the phone begins eyeing the bag. Lieutenant Pete Casanova believes she's casing the area.
And it's common for the distraction thieves and these type of people to go to these phone booths and pretend they're making a phone call and look around. And what they're doing is they're scouting the area also.
What she doesn't realize is she's looking right at 5 undercover detectives and 2020's hidden cameras. She moves her bags a little closer to the bait bag, then signals her partner. They talk briefly. A few seconds later, she makes her move, snatching the bait and walking away with a police bag on her arm. The 2 suspects waste no time, getting on line for a flight to Los Angeles, the stolen bait now hidden inside a shopping bag. As they attempt to board the plane, they're arrested.
So basically what you're telling me is that you intended to keep this for yourself?
Well, not for myself, but yeah.
For someone else in your party?
Some people say it's entrapment, but the police argue the suspects not only hid the bag and were trying to leave the state with it, they also threw the name tag in the garbage. After the female suspect spent 30 days in jail, prosecutors decided not to pursue the case. Her partner was given community service. Police believe the team may also have been responsible for a recent rash of thefts in the men's and women's bathrooms. Yes, the bathrooms are another place where airport criminals could be lurking.
You're sitting on the stool and you got your pants around your ankles, and all of a sudden somebody comes in and stalls in front of you.
Hey, now what do I do?
Do you jump up and run after them?
We've had a few incidents like that, and someone kind of thought they were crazy people chasing out the hallway and their underwear is up and their pants are around their ankles, because it's basically their whole lives are going out this door.
In women's bathrooms, it's easy for thieves to reach over the door and pull a purse off the hook, which is why some airports are now installing devices like these to keep valuables secure. In general, Coffey says purses and luggage should be kept beside you in the bathroom and everywhere else at the airport. That's okay for carry-ons, but what about the baggage you checked? The thieves are hoping when your flight lands, you'll take your time getting to the carousel.
I go out there and a flight coming in, and you'd be surprised at the people that stop to drink upstairs or stop to chat or...
While this man claims he no longer does it, for years he stole luggage off the carousel simply by getting to it before the passengers.
We see a bag going around the carousel, and if we go around more than 2 or 3 times, we know that the owner of the bag is not there.
He says thieves favor the carousels where there are no security guards checking claim tags. Each airline makes the choice to post a guard or not. Those that don't are taking a calculated risk, says travel security consultant Charles Slepian, a decision based on
the economics more than anything else. It's just cheaper to let the bags go out the door than it is to put security there.
And even if they're caught, the thieves will claim it was a mistake. The bag looked just like theirs, an excuse that usually works. The message for travelers:
if it was my luggage, I'm always right here. I'm beating my luggage. I want to be the first one to see it, the first one to touch it.
Of course, you're not really the first one to touch it. Your luggage has already passed through the hands of a lot of airline employees.
These are your cargo theft suspects that help themselves to items that are in bags that they're loading onto the aircraft or transporting from one location to the next.
An FBI sting in Washington, D.C. caught these baggage handlers on tape, opening up suitcases at will, reaching in to feel for valuables like cameras and jewelry. This man's shirt was stuffed with stolen goods. 9 employees were convicted and some sentenced to jail time. But prosecutions are rare, and Slepian says because of the arbitration process, it's even tough to fire employees who are caught stealing.
I know one offender who was caught 4 times. He was so good at it that ultimately I used him as an informant.
And you couldn't get rid of him?
On the 4th time, we finally did get rid of him, but he didn't really care because he is now employed by another carrier.
Handling people's baggage?
This day, he's employed by another carrier.
The airlines themselves, he says, often don't report luggage theft to the police, fearful of bad publicity.
In the world of airport criminals, laptops, briefcases, and luggage may be the big scores, but there are plenty of smaller hustles and scams also going on at the terminals.
Over here we have what we call our 44. These are telephone access card suspects.
These are the people, he says, who may be looking over your shoulder as you make a call, copying down your calling card number, and selling it. Coffee's advice?
When you go to make a telephone call, shield the keypad with your hand. Look to the left, look to the right, and even look up for a second, and then put in your calling card number.
2020 discovered yet another scheme, this one designed to get you to open your heart and your wallet. Airports are a gold mine for dubious charities like this one in Orlando, where lots of generous and often rushed travelers threw in money after being misled about who will benefit from their donations.
You know, if I ask you where exactly is my money ending up...
Well, I'll tell you Larry Jones for Feed the Children program.
Okay.
And I can say that without any regret in my heart.
Right.
He showed me a letter describing the accomplishments of Oklahoma-based televangelist Larry Jones' Feed the Children program. But these solicitors don't work for Larry Jones' charity. They're from a group called the Florida Outreach Program, founded by Reverend Francis Trzaskos.
Are they affiliated with Larry Jones?
Well, as far as I know, he sends them a check every week or something, you know.
Sends them a check every week?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
That's a lie, said the Reverend Larry Jones when I called him from the airport. He said this Florida group had given him just $75 this year, even less in the past.
Last year they said $50 for the whole year?
So we returned to those solicitors.
I just got off the phone with Larry Jones.
That's great.
And he says that your organization has given one donation of $75 for the whole year. And last year all you gave was $50.
I don't know anything about that.
After we confronted these solicitors, Reverend Trzaskos sent $430 to the Larry Jones Foundation. He also told 2020 he gives money to St. Jude Children's Hospital. But St. Jude says the amounts were small, and last year asked the Reverend to cease all fundraising using our name. And there's more. 3 years ago, the Texas Attorney General investigated this same charity for deceptive practices at the Dallas airport. Solicitors were wearing outfits that made them appear to be priests. Reverend Trzaskos denies any wrongdoing. Questionable charities. Just one more reason to keep your guard up when you're at the airport, where crooks and con men are drawn by the lure of easy pickings.
You're nervous because you don't know which way or what flights you're going to take, what's going to happen next. And while you're doing all that, somebody's watching you. And they're waiting for the perfect moment to strike.
Yeah, Arnold, could you run through some of the tips, again, that would help us avoid this kind of problem?
All right, here's the advice from the experts. When it comes to baggage that you're going to check in, pack it, they say, like you'll never see it again. In other words, don't put cameras, don't put jewelry, any other irreplaceable, valuable items. And it may be a good idea, they say, to wrap some tape around where the handle is, because that would prevent any baggage handler who may be of a mind to from sticking his hand in. Now, when you get to the airport, when you get to your destination, don't stop and have a drink or get something to eat. Go right to the carousel, because the thieves may be waiting there too, especially if you have designer luggage, they say, because the thieves know even if there's nothing valuable inside, they can sell the suitcase for $50.
Yeah. Now, you say, you know, have valuables on your person as much as possible. I got a bad scare one time by checking a Christmas gift that was very important to me to give. And it went to St. Croix accidentally. And I know after I should have had it right in my briefcase. Now, suppose it was in my briefcase, and I've got to go through the security check, And that's out of my sight for a while I'm going through. There's a danger there, isn't there?
That's right. And the experts say if you have something like that, very valuable, if you have money, cameras, have it hand-checked at the gate. They can do it. It just takes a couple of extra minutes.
Terrific. Good tips.
All right.
Thank you, Arnold.
Okay.
Well, next, a love story like no other you have ever heard. What was she thinking? A wife and mother torn between her family and her unlikely lover. Why would she destroy her life and theirs for a rapist and murderer? Lynn Shure with Rosalie's Choice right after this.
A suburban housewife and a convicted killer. Will a jury set him free? Will she choose him over her family? Don't miss Rosalie's Choice when 2020 continues after this from our ABC stations. Once again, Hugh Downs.
And now, a woman at the center of a scandalous love affair. A woman condemned by almost everyone around her. Once before, we told you her story. She seemed to have it all. A husband, a lavish lifestyle, and 4 lovely daughters. How could she think of throwing that all away for a man on death row, a rapist and particularly vicious murderer? Well, as Lynn Shure brings you her unique story again, you have to ask yourself, what could Rosalie Martinez possibly be thinking?
Rosalie Martinez is shopping for a wedding dress.
I love it.
At 38, this is her second marriage, but she is as smitten as a teenager.
I'm so pretty in it. I know.
Are you in love with Oscar?
Absolutely, deeply in love with him.
Rosalie's passion may shock you. The man she loves lives here, on death row at Florida State Prison.
Do you love Rosalie?
I do. I don't think there's no one else I've ever felt emotionally strong about as her.
His name is Oscar Ray Bolin, and authorities say he's a serial killer.
Oscar Ray Bolin is a killer. He killed these 3 women, and if Oscar Ray Bolin ever sees the light of day, he will kill again.
Rosalie, you know what he's been convicted of. Yes, I do. But he's not guilty.
Rosalie is so convinced of Oscar's innocence, she's devoting her life to him and has given up her job, her home, her husband, and custody of her 4 young daughters.
Are you aware? Do you think your eyes are really wide open about what you're doing? Yes, definitely. Definitely. And I apologize to everyone that I've hurt. Who do you think you've hurt the worst? My children.
In her hometown of Tampa, Rosalie's romance and her crusade to free Oscar Bolin have infuriated those who want to see him die in the electric chair. He was convicted of killing Donna Whitmer's daughter in 1991.
Her relationship with him is something that I don't understand. For one reason, she has 4 beautiful daughters. How do you give something like that away for this person? Something that I've had taken away from me by this same man.
Rosalie recently moved to a 2-bedroom condo in Gainesville, partly to be near Oscar's jail cell. It's quite a come down from the $500,000 house in a fashionable section of Tampa, where she and her first husband, lawyer Victor Martinez, enjoyed an enviable lifestyle. It began with a spectacular wedding given by his very wealthy family.
It was the most breathtaking scene when I walked into that church. There were orchids hanging from these pillars. This is me and Victor coming from our honeymoon.
After the honeymoon, Rosalie began to understand her role in the socially prominent Martinez family.
My mother-in-law in good intentions. When I came back from my honeymoon, there were no presents to open. They'd all been opened. They already decided what was going to be kept, what was going to be taken back to the department stores. The thank you notes have been written. And
who wrote the thank you notes?
She did.
Signing her name or your name?
My name. And that was the end of it.
And it wasn't just her in-laws. Rosalie says her husband couldn't provide what she wanted.
What else did you miss in the marriage from the beginning?
Passion. Love. Just simple, unconditional, just somebody just to put you on a pedestal. Not with material things, but emotions.
Rosalie soon found a way to satisfy her emotional hunger.
I wanted children more than anything. Because it was something that I could touch and hug and kiss and rub and do all those things.
What was so special about the children? How did it change your life?
They love you back. You know, it's a need, it's a nurturing, mutually.
Did you get a love from them that you weren't getting from Victor?
Yes.
Victor did enable her to live luxuriously.
You were a lady of leisure, or could have been a lady of leisure? Shopping?
Shopping.
You got your diamond earrings?
I got 3-carat diamond earrings on each ear.
You had a fancy car?
Mercedes.
At the same time, Oscar Ray Bolin, also married, was driving a truck in Tampa. In January of 1986, police say the murders began. The first known victim was a 25-year-old who was abducted while driving home from work.
Natalie Blanche Holly had been stabbed about 12 times in her upper torso, and her body had been dumped about 12 to 15 miles from where her car was found.
11 months later, the body of 17-year-old Stephanie Collins was found on a Florida highway.
Her body had been dumped along the road, and it was found by a road crew. It was very badly decomposed. I could see her again. She was gone.
That same day, Florida police discovered a third victim. 26-year-old Terry Lynn Matthews had been stabbed and beaten to death. Her mother, Kay Reeves.
The thing I have the hardest part about is realizing the terror and fear and pain that she suffered alone. Not with her family. Not with people she knew. But with someone she couldn't give her an answer. Why are you doing this? What have I done to you?
For 4 years, the cases went unsolved. Then in 1990, a call to a police tip line pointed to a suspect. He was in an Ohio prison serving time for a vicious rape at gunpoint. Oscar Ray Bolin was extradited to Tampa and charged with the killings.
Did you do any of those murders?
I never committed the first one. No, I committed a crime in Ohio, and I pleaded guilty to it. Went to prison, but I'm not going to come to Florida and confess to a murder I didn't do.
Oscar Ray Bolin went on trial. His by-then ex-wife testified he told her he killed one of the women, and she watched him dispose of the body of another. His stepbrother said he saw Bolin bludgeon a third victim to death, and bloody sheets wrapped around 2 of the bodies were linked to Bolin's home. He was found guilty in all 3 murders and sentenced to death 3 times. But the Florida Supreme Court overturned the convictions, in part because his ex-wife had testified against him. Bolin was granted 3 new trials. Rosalie Martinez knew nothing about Oscar, but their paths were about to cross. After 15 years of marriage and a variety of jobs in the legal profession, she craved a career and went to a childhood friend, Julie Holt, the public defender, who hired Rosalie to coordinate social services for the accused.
She was kind of a liaison between
That's what it is, a liaison.
what you saw these people as needing and the resources that are out there. Exactly.
Rosalie did well and moved on to assist lawyers in death penalty cases. Her first assignment was Oscar Ray Bolin.
High publicity case, high profile case, no sympathy whatsoever in the case built in.
That's not the way Rosalie saw it.
I opened the door, and there's this young man standing there. His back is towards me, and he turns around. He said, "Who are you?" I said, "I'm here to help you." And I think I said, "I'm your angel."
That first meeting, there was no magnetism. There was no sudden sparks. There was no chemistry.
What happened was that the confinement, the isolation, and the loneliness struck me very close to my heart. It made me be awakened in my own feelings that I hadn't even explored before.
What do you mean by that?
I had felt confined. I had felt loneliness.
Some people might say, hearing this, what is she talking about? She felt confined. Here's a woman that had everything. She had a husband. She had 4 loving children. What did you feel confined about?
In my heart. You know, I didn't think I could ever break away and do what Rosalie wanted to do. I was always Victor's wife or the children's mother. I was never Rosalie.
With Oscar, Rosalie found her mission. She would prove his innocence in spite of overwhelming evidence against him. No longer at the public defender's office, she now works as a volunteer.
Why are you so convinced he's innocent?
The documentation that I've gone through and the reports are totally conflicting. I was sent there for a purpose, a divine purpose, and I became obsessed with it.
You say you became obsessed with it, with the case or with him?
With the case. With the case.
But it soon became clear that Rosalie and Oscar were obsessed with each other.
How did you let her know your feelings had changed?
I told her one day. I told her she was a remarkable individual, that if she wasn't married, or how did I say it? I forget how I said it, but I told her I had personal feelings for her.
What did it feel like for you as you started to recognize that your feelings were changing?
I was scared.
What was going on inside your body?
I wanted to break out. I wanted to be loved. Like I've never been loved before. See my children, I'd cry. Because I knew that if I ever acted out those feelings I had for Oscar, I was going to destroy a family.
That is exactly what was about to happen.
Rosalie Martinez is on the verge of a drastic decision. Will she choose a rapist and murderer over her 4 young daughters? Lynn Shure with the conclusion of this unbelievable love story after this.
This picture looks fine, right? Well, watch what happens in the hands of a Kodak technician in a Kodak lab. Kodak Premium Processing. It makes sure your pictures turn out right the first time. And if that's not enough, you get features that help you organize, protect, and reorder your pictures. Get the total picture package. Choose Kodak Premium Processing.
It was a huge idea. He'd be on time, and the pants would get dry. Sometimes he thought, I'm so smart, it's scary. Sir, it's a dirty job, but somebody's got to do it.
Chevy Blazer with the exclusive driver control system. A little security in an insecure world.
Oh man, Turtle, what are you thinking? You're in the middle of the road. Come on, Turtle. Come on, Turtle. I got fresh beer, I gotta get through. Come on, this way, that's it. Come. What?
Everybody likes to have a good time. But hey,
Uh-oh.
before you go out to party, always choose a designated driver. It's a sign of intelligent life.
Where to, guys?
Whether it's time to recoat your blacktop or water your bluegrass, talk to the folks in the Red Vest. They'll help you find everything you need to get your summer jobs done right. That's why Ace is a place for the helpful hardware folks.
ABC News 2020 will continue in a moment.
ABC Late Night tonight.
On Nightline, for 3 generations, they struggled to build the family business. Now they're struggling to hold on. Castellucci Stone.
And
Porno is my favorite kind of movie to watch. Have you seen these ones with all male casts? These things are horrible. Maybe you're shopping in the wrong section.
Nightline and Politically Incorrect. ABC Late Night tonight.
Raul Marquez is undefeated in 26 professional bouts. He makes the first defense of his IBF junior middleweight crown against Olympic medalist Romalis Ellis. Live Saturday on Wide World.
La alegría de ganar y la agonía de perder.
On Monday, July 7th, the biggest automotive event of 1997 will come to an end. So get to the great percent event and choose low 1.9 financing for 48 months or 3.9 for 60 months and save thousands in finance charges. Even get $1,500 cash back on Mustang and Thunderbird. 1.9, 3.9 or up to $1,500 on Taurus. Or choose Escort with 1.9 financing or 1,000 cash back. This is your last chance to get low 1.9, 3.9 or up to $1,500 cash back. So hurry to your Southern Nevada Ford dealer. July 7th is the day great savings come to an end.
Many women have left their husbands for another man. But how many would leave their home and their children for a rapist and convicted killer? Rosalie Martinez is convinced that the man she loves is not capable of murder. But will a jury agree this time around? As Lynn Scher continues, Rosalie is about to find out.
This past August, the romance between the alleged serial killer and his jailhouse angel caused a media sensation as the first murder retrial began.
He turned away and heard a whacking sound, as if the defendant was hitting the body.
Once again, the gruesome evidence convinced the jury. It took them less than an hour to find Oscar Ray Boland guilty again of the murder of Terry Lynn Matthews.
Wonderful, wonderful. The system does work.
By September, Oscar and Rosalie had stopped trying to hide their feelings. The story reached more scandalous heights when Rosalie and her husband Victor got divorced, and she announced she would marry Oscar.
You think it's fair of you to put her through this?
It wasn't just me now. It was both of us who made the decision. And I asked her a number of times before she made the commitment, before she decided, yes, if this is in fact what you want. And I said, we can still be friends. You don't have to do this. And she said, no, I want it. And it would have been unfair for me to deny her that.
We're gathered here so that Oscar and Rosalie may be joined in marriage.
Their unconventional courtship culminated in an equally unusual wedding.
Oscar, do you take Rosalie to be your lawful wedded wife?
Yes, I do.
Rosalie, do you take Oscar to be your lawful wedded husband?
Yes, I do.
A minister married Rosalie and Oscar by speakerphone in her apartment. Rosalie wore the dress she'd picked out. Oscar wore his jailhouse jumpsuit.
I now pronounce you husband and wife. Congratulations.
Look, thank you.
Oscar? Oscar.
Hey.
Listen.
How full your kiss?
It was bittersweet because I had left a life behind so different from the one I am now embarking upon.
Instead of a real kiss, the bride wept. Instead of a honeymoon, the newlyweds went to court.
You are sentenced to death for the murder of Terry Lynn Matthews, and the defendant is committed to the custody of the Department of Corrections of the state of Florida for execution of the sentence.
What do you think it's like for Rosalie knowing that she's married to a convicted killer?
Well, she knows the truth, though. I know some people say, that's horrible, how can she live with herself and all this and that? But she knows I'm not guilty. Just because I got a conviction in a courtroom doesn't mean I'm guilty. That's
You're
a
on
conviction.
death row.
Well, I've noticed. I've noticed.
You said before when we were just off camera that you're like a man in bed with you on cold winter nights. You're not going to have that for a very long time, if ever, with Oscar.
Well, just wait a minute. I get to visit him 8 hours on Sunday. And we get to hug and kiss and hold hands and snuggle and...
Is once a week for 8 hours enough for you?
It's enough, yes, because it'll be meaningful.
Rosalie does get to hug and kiss Oscar one day each weekend. This is a snapshot from a recent visit at the prison. And she regularly sees her children, who now live with their father.
Do you understand that there are people who say you've abandoned your children?
Oh, I've never abandoned my children. No.
But you gave up custody?
I did the thing I think a mother should have done. I don't think I should have brought my children into the confusion. I can't care for them now while I'm going through this.
What does it do to you not to have your children around all the time?
It's horrible.
How often do you see them?
Not enough.
Oscar Ray Bolin is set for retrial in the other 2 murder cases next year. For the families of the victims, the hope of justice is dimmed in the shadow cast by Rosalie.
Oscar Ray Bolin will be a dead man walking one day, and I'll be there to see it. But I don't want to have to think about it every day of my life between now and then. And that's what's happening right now.
Here we have all these people involved in bringing this person to justice. And then all the media attention isn't on the good guys. It's on what's dredged up, what can be thought of as an afterlife for this killer.
As for Rosalie, she intends to go to law school to help defend her new husband.
Do you understand why people are so fascinated by this story? Yes, well, it's like one of those, why would she has it all, give it up for him?
And the answer is?
He's a wonderful, warm, sensitive man, to me. I'm not asking anybody else to have the same feelings as I do, but this is my life, and no one has a right to impede on my heart.
Well, Lynn, what about Rosalie's life since we last talked about it? Has she gone to law school?
Not yet, and Barbara, she has moved back to Tampa to be closer to her children. She says she sees the girls 3 or 4 times a week. That was very important to her. But you know what she's doing? She is driving 500 miles round trip once a week to see Oscar. She gets to see him for 6 hours, still no conjugal visits.
They can just hug and kiss surrounded by a lot of other people
in a fairly open place. Yeah.
And what about Oscar? Anything different?
No, really no change. He's still awaiting the 2 retrials on the other cases, and you know, that will determine a lot.
And she is just as much in love with him as ever.
She says she is. She feels good about herself. She says she's gotten a lot of respect from people. They think she's very courageous, and she's very happy. And by the way, she calls herself Rosalie Bolin these days.
Because she is married to him.
Indeed.
Well, love is a mystery. Thank you, Liz. When we come back, an unfortunate new development in a shocking story we brought you 2 weeks ago. Millions of women and children around the world will be profoundly affected. Stay with us.
Good evening. Coming up on 11 at 11, fireworks proved to be dangerous, sparking fires all over the valley.
And cheers ring out around the globe when stargazers get a first-hand look at the surface of Mars. 11 at 11 is next.
A black Lincoln?
Yes, sir.
Introducing Navigator from Lincoln.
Why didn't you just have him park it in the lot?
I didn't want it scratched.
Navigator from Lincoln. What a luxury should be.
Now an update. 2 weeks ago, we spotlighted a barbaric ritual that's going on in various countries around the world. Some call it female circumcision. But the woman in our story who knows about it firsthand calls it torture. As a child in Somalia, Waris Deary, like thousands of other little girls, was forced to submit to this genital mutilation designed to control a woman's sexual pleasure. Now as a beautiful and successful high-fashion model, she is using her visibility to try to stop this shocking tradition.
I'm doing this for the sake of all the women around the world and the children, girls.
Last year, there was a hopeful sign. Under pressure from human rights groups, one country, Egypt, banned genital mutilation. But that hard-fought victory was short-lived. Last week, an Egyptian court overturned the ban, allowing female genital mutilation to resume at hospitals and clinics. Islamic fundamentalists cheered the decision as a verdict for virtue. But the battle is far from over. The United States has now spoken up, calling on Egypt to reimpose the ban and extending sympathies to the girls who it says will suffer lasting physical and emotional injury and possible death.
Progress can be uneven, but sometimes, hopefully, still progress. Well, don't forget to watch Nightline after your local news. That is 2020 for tonight. We thank you for...